Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the full moon in Scorpio and lunar eclipse taking place on May 5th at 1:24 p.m. if you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States. Please check a time zone converter for your local time. A couple of quick announcements before we get into it. This Saturday, by popular demand, I asked you guys over in the community section and you voted. If you're not subscribed to the channel, you probably would have missed that. If you're new, definitely subscribe so that you can see all of these kinds of things. I'm going to be hosting on Saturday, May 6th, a free workshop for you guys here on YouTube called Your Manifestation Blueprint. That'll be at 11 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean, and it will be online and live if you want to learn how to work your manifestation capacity now that we're coming to the end of this season of manifestation and planting and creating new. We're going to move into a season of grounding and fertilization, which I'm going to talk a little bit about here in this lunar update. If you want to know how to manifest all year round and your personal blueprint for manifestation, because each person has something unique in the way that they are called to do creatorship. It's going to be unique to your astrological chart. Join me live on Saturday, May 6th. Here, I want to give you guys for free the keys to your manifestation car so that or keys to your kingdom, so you can unlock whatever it is you want to have in this lifetime. So join me here live then. If you miss it, it'll be recorded. Just look under the live section on YouTube. And if you're not on my private list, definitely consider joining, because next weekend on Saturday, May 13th, I will be hosting a private workshop for folks who want to go deeper down the manifestation rabbit hole and learn about some of their spiritual gifts when it comes to manifestation, and where they're particularly gifted in manifesting very particular things in this lifetime. Some of you are well endowed in the arena of manifestation, and we all have very special gifting when it comes to that. During that workshop, I'm going to show you how to access and unlock that in your chart. So I'm rolling that out to the private list first. The link to join my private list is just below this video. It's a little bit.ly link. You can jump on the private list and get early access to that workshop. I tend to provide first access to my private listers, as well as some goodies and some freebies for signing up early and first. And they do tend to take those spots in totality. So if you know you like to get extra stuff, then definitely sign up for the private list. There will be first look at the very end of this full moon in Scorpio video. So if you want to see how this lunation moves into the new moon in Taurus, listen to the very end and I'll tell you exactly where we're headed after this. And the May calendar is definitely open. So if you'd like to talk one-on-one about any of the themes we've been working through in the last several lunations, manifestation, creation, writing a new love story, writing a new money story, creating a new story when it comes to your health and well-being. If you're wanting some additional support, you're blocked, you can see the pattern, but you can't figure out how to overcome it, the one-on-one conversation is probably a great way to go. I've still got some space left before the end of May so that you're able to take advantage of the closing pieces of this hyper growth, hyper manifestation season. Let's get into this full moon in Scorpio, which is the next step. This lunar eclipse is the next step in this season because it's a big one. We've got a lot going on here. Now, full moons on their own, when the moon stands opposite the sun, we get the closing of a cycle, the completion, and we have a full moon every month. Full moons are always about closure, completion, culmination, coming into full ripening. Now, when you have a full moon, also with a lunar eclipse, which is what we have now, doesn't happen all the time, but when a lunar eclipse coincides with a full moon, we get basically a full moon on steroids, as my astrology teacher, Nadia Shah, says. It is a super closing, it's a super completion. It's a super change in that way. And this is only more highlighted. The ending piece of this is brought to a head because this is a full moon in Scorpio, specifically the sign that deals with completions. Scorpio is the sign that governs the gateway and exchange point from one place into the new. The gates that move you from one life into another life are Scorpio gates. And so we have this full moon in Scorpio. And in addition to that, we've got some pretty significant aspects at this time from our friend Pluto here, the ruler of Scorpio, the ruler of completions, transformation, and alchemy. And so this really is a line in the sand kind of moment. And we've been building to this over the last 60 days with some of the heightened energy we had with the solar eclipse a couple of weeks ago, and all of this Aries energy that we've been talking about over the last several lunations, about how there's this newness, this energy, this electricity in the air that's facilitating our opportunity to step into something greater, something better, something new and different than we've ever been and than we've ever had through our actions. Now we're coming to the place where we're having a completion. We're having an ending with this. We've opened up the door. We have ordered from the menu of life and we've called in what we want. That food is going to be here at the table any minute. It's time now for the waiter to take away, and the wait staff to take away the food we're no longer eating, the things that we're no longer interested in digesting, the ways in which we're no longer being. These things come to a close with lunar eclipses. Now, I've spoken about this in previous videos, but I'll just reiterate here that eclipses never work alone. They always, always, always work in tandem with their system. And so we opened, the last one was a solar eclipse in Aries. That's not part of the same system. The system we're talking about is this eclipse cycle on the Taurus Scorpio eclipse axis. This is the piece we're closing up. And so on this eclipse axis, we've been dealing significantly with themes of life and death. Are we going to move into greater life, or are we going to call something into completion? Are we going to water and fertilize something? Are we going to wrap it up and put it to bed? Are we going to allow something to really blossom and live? Are we going to let something wither and kind of move on? Are we going to move on to our next season and our next chapter? And so this eclipse cycle has been ongoing through 2022 and will wrap up at the end of this year. We'll have some eclipses in the fall, but the entirety of the system was about the juxtaposition between kind of that, if you look at maybe the tarot, you see the Lover's card and then you see the Devil card. Are you free or are you chained? Are you loving in bondage and in light, or are you, is it really just more like attachment because you're afraid to walk through that door and confront your fears? Or are you loving and living in the light? Are you fostering love from a place of an open heart and freedom and the gift that love really is to liberate? This has been the walk that we've all been in with Scorpio and Taurus's eclipse cycle. There would have been, over the course of this eclipse cycle, a very, I would say, how do I put this? Like a dynamic separation almost between you and other people if their paths were just dramatically different than yours. If you are really walking in the light right now, people who needed more time in your life to work with shadow, to work with endings and completion, to work with death and alchemical energy. These are people you would have found it quite difficult to maintain close proximity to. So too vice versa. People who have really emerged into the light side of this energy, who are experiencing a level of unprecedented fertility and birth and renewal energy, and their life just seems to be on a rapid upward spiral. If that's just not where you've been, people who are in that place would have really irritated you, and you would have found it difficult to walk next to them. During this Taurus Scorpio season, you would have found yourself in the camp in which you had the most lessons to learn and work to do. As we've moved into the completion of this eclipse cycle, and like I said, we have one more in the fall, but as we've moved through this eclipse season, it's called all of us to task on leaning, and not just leaning, but literally picking up your feet and walking into the light as much as you can with whatever you've got, confronting whatever fear you need to get through those gates and get to the other side. And so this has been challenging in very personal ways for everyone. Whatever your fear was that you needed to confront, this kind of thing would have really opened the door for you to look it dead in the face and then decide, as we've walked into the beginning of 2023, okay, so that's the fear. Here's what I want. What do I need to do to get what I want? What do I have to confront? What do I need to act on? What can I no longer procrastinate about? So as we hit this full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio, this is allowing, because the new has already opened up. We've already started with eclipses on the Aries Libra axis. That was the last eclipse. The new cycle has already opened. We've got a bunch of planets now moving into new signs. So the new is already happening. And at the same time the new is happening, we have the old still singing its song, beating its drum, doing its dance. They're happening concurrently. And so in the community section, I shared a post about this Mercury retrograde season and some of the vibration and frequencies you may see with it. But I talked about how there are two dimensions sitting directly on top of each other at this time in a way that is loud to the conscious mind. It's very palpable, quite obvious that there are these two dimensions happening at the same time. And so you may be having an experience of a little disorientation. Which way is up? Some days I know what I want, some days I don't. You would have really seen some of this stuff start to unfold for you in the arena of, just kind of like, the old is olding, but the new is newing, and they're happening concurrently, and it can have you feeling quite pulled in two very different directions. Or just feeling like tired because your life force is propping up two different realities, and you're at a place where you can no longer afford to do that. Recognizing what has to be let go of so that the new can really take shape and take form is part of what this full moon in Scorpio and lunar eclipse season are bringing. As I mentioned, we're coming to the close of the manifestation season, which would if we're going to talk about this in metaphor, it's like we planted some seeds in the first 4 months of this year. This next segment of the year is going to be all about watering and fertilizing and making sure we're not digging the seeds that we planted up, as my coach says. Or this is also going to be all about grounding with your choices the new that you want to see come into the world of form. Okay. And so this full moon in Scorpio and lunar eclipse are about closing out the old. We had new. Now we're going to close out the old. They're coexisting in this moment in time, which is why it can be a bit exhausting. Exciting though, because within this, we have the sun in close proximity to Uranus, and Uranus is the divine change maker here. And that's opposite our moon earth configuration down here. We also have a square to Chariklo and Lilith. So here is Chariklo at 90 degrees to that energy. And here's Lilith at 90 degrees to that energy. And if you're the kind of astrologer or student of astrology that really likes to look at some of the minor planetary bodies, the asteroids, the TNOs, we would call this a grand cross. Grand cross energies tend to bring in a significant amount of tension, a significant amount of clarity that choices have to be made. Maybe you can have it all, but you can't have it all at the same time. Lobster, strawberries, the good steak, the wonderful vegan meal, and the champagne cannot go all in your mouth at the same time with the chocolate cake. It's not going to taste, they may be the best things in the world, but all in the mouth at the same time tastes like garbage. So this is one of those moments of parsing and discernment where your life is presenting to you what you've already manifested for you to look at and say, I like this, I don't like that. I want this, I don't want that. And for you to recognize as the reflection of your thoughts and beliefs come back to you, because we're in a Mercury retrograde. So this is all about thoughts and beliefs in the world of form, because it's in Taurus, an earth sign. All of this stuff is starting to get reflected back. And we now are at the place of needing to make some choices with this full moon lunar eclipse in Scorpio. What goes? What ends? What stops? What is to be no longer? Okay. Beautiful energy here of choice and a season of turning points. This Chariklo energy is bringing in a vibration and frequency of divine intercession. There are certainly supportive energies in the energetic realm. This Lilith energy here is bringing in a frequency of determination to figure out how we can have it the way we really want it. And anytime Earth is in the mix, we're talking about things being made manifest in the world of form, because the planet Earth deals with manifestation. So all of this is thrilling, even if it is a little bit jarring. Eclipse energies can be felt up to 60 days before and 60 days after. And with Uranus playing such a key role in this particular eclipse, there are some things that we may find come to reversal or to closure almost overnight or almost out of the blue. Uranus governs surprises. It governs things shifting in quantum. So it's like you look, you blink, and it's completely different the next second. And all of this is going to be very constructive for those of us who tend to dwell or hold on to identities or things long past their shelf life, long past them being dead. There are circumstances in many of our lives. For some of us, it's belief systems. For others of us, it's actual relationships. And still for others, it's habits and behaviors that have long since we've outgrown them. But we've been trying to do emotional CPR on them to bring them back to life. And this is the moment in time where you really get the clarity, this is done. It's done for me. I need to move on. Okay. And so none of this is necessarily bad. None of it is necessarily good. It's just a movement of state change. And so we'll get into some examples in a minute. But it's an exciting time. I like to see it. This full moon is also in conversation with Nessus. Here's Nessus here, and here's the full moon. So they're both in water signs, and Nessus deals with the things that we struggle to let go of in the first place. It deals with kind of our OCD, like our compulsions to make things go a certain way as well. Lilith is also featured in a similar capacity at this lunation since she's in Leo. In addition to Lilith and Nessus, we also have a conversation with Mars here in a trining fashion as well. And it's a loose trine, but it's definitely a trine. So there's a bit of grand trine energy in addition to the grand cross energy, which makes this an extraordinarily significant period of time. Grand cross energy demands choices, and the grand trine energy makes the choice that's obvious very apparent. Like there's just no other way to go, no other way to move. It's the only part of our life that we have wiggle room around. And so we learn how to work with this particular energy. This Mars in Cancer energy here really talks about leaning into some emotional reality and backing it up with our actions, leaning into our emotional truth and really being congruent with those things. Mars doesn't always like to be in the emotional waters of Cancer. Nevertheless, when Mars is in Cancer, some of the best usage of it is to walk the talk. Is what I say I want, now I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. This Nessus in Pisces energy is giving us, it's allowing us to get like imbued with this frequency of follow through and commitment and a relentless, like I'm not giving up. I don't really care what it takes. I'm now very clear. This is the thing that I want, and I'm not letting go. And all of this is really coming as this Mercury retrograde season has illuminated what we want and what we don't want. Much of what we want is being revealed through having experiences of things that we do not like. It's like, oh, does that go? I don't want that. Let's call something else in. And so there's a real clarity in all of this at this time, more clarity than we've had in a long time. A lot of clarity going on to facilitate moving into something new and what it's going to take. Many times we have aspirations, but what it takes is something that we're always not willing to act on. But our aspirations are calling for action in this season. And now we're being shown, oh, if I do want this, I'm going to have to switch that. Okay, I got it. That's the price. All right, well, so be it. That's what I have to pay in order to get the thing that I want. So be it. I'm going to have to figure out how to do that. And this is what's unfolding for all of us at this time. Okay. Let me look at my notes here. Yes. Yes, this is further clarified over here with this Venus square Neptune situation. Now, when Venus and Neptune get into square like this, it can have what we want feel, because Venus represents desires, represents what we're attracted to, what we're drawn to, what we'd like to move toward, the things that want to move towards us. Venus in and of herself is magnetism. But this Neptune energy dissolves whatever Neptune touches. It's like the minute you touch it, it dissolves, it disappears, it sinks into the realm of illusion. And so there's purpose in this at this time, because what we got a taste of in the first 4 months of the year for utilizing this energy has been an ability to touch, to see, to know, oh, this is what it could be like. This is what I want. This is where I want to be. And now this Neptune Venus situation is going, not quite yet, almost. Here's what you're going to have to do. And that's this Mars Neptune situation here, because Mars is the action point. Speaking with Neptune, here's what you're going to have to do in order to get the thing. There's an action you're going to have to take, and Neptune is mirroring back to all of us at this moment. Listen, because Neptune deals with mirrors. Neptune's going, listen, here's what your beliefs, thoughts, and actions have manifested for you up to this point. The world around you is an exact replica of what you've agreed to. You don't like your agreements? Change them. And now I'm going to show you precisely what you're going to have to do to change them. And so, really getting this, it's sobering. It's a very sobering kind of energy where we're going, okay, I see what I'm going to have to do here in order to be where I want to be, and get where I want to go. What you're going to want to look to is the house that the moon governs, because this is a lunar eclipse. The moon governs the signs of Cancer. Here's what that symbol looks like. And Virgo, here's what that symbol looks like. It's the ancient ruler of Virgo. And so you want to look in your chart for what house the moon and Virgo deal with, because these are the places where you're being asked to close out an old way of being, an old identity, an old agreement to have your life manifest in certain ways. Okay. In closing those things out, you've already stepped into the new stuff, but in closing these things out, you're starting to really see, oh, like, wow, okay, this really doesn't work for me. This really doesn't fit for me anymore. Now that I've tasted the new, I don't want to eat that anymore. Right. So there's a bit of that. And I'll just kind of give a quick example. There's a girlfriend of mine, shout out to you if you're listening, who is doing exceptional in the world of theater and arts and entertainment as an actress. And in the last 2 years, she has thoroughly quantum leaped in her career. She went from kind of like, working for free wherever she could because she just loves acting. It's just who she is. She wanted to do whatever she could do to be in the game, to landing and booking her first national television spot on one of the most popular shows on a network that is broadcast certainly worldwide, but also specifically here in the US. And it seemed, if you looked at her from the outside, it seemed to happen nearly overnight. But if you knew her, the way if you listened to the way she tells the story, she's like, oh no, that wasn't overnight. That was like at least 2 decades of blood, sweat, and tears and sacrifice to get to the point where things just popped and blossomed. But it wasn't just a pop and a blossom. And so now that that experience is now completing and she's, fully in the new, like she stepped into the new and she's clear about what that looks like, clear about what that could feel like. She's worked with A-listers and, directors and writers and actors. And now she's like, oh, that was yummy. More of that, please. Please, yes, and thank you. Right now, right here, hit me with that. And as this is happening and her new is unfolding, simultaneously the old is showing up. There's mirrors in her life about what she no longer wants to experience. Her agent is like sending her things to audition for that seem so small now, but were, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, she'd have just been grateful to get the opportunity for. She's, being called into, she was volunteering at this organization and she had felt really taken advantage of outside of her acting career because she felt like she had more to give, but they weren't really giving her an opportunity to do it. So she stepped up and she asked. And now that she's stepped into the new role at this volunteer organization, she actually feels more fulfilled. She feels like, this is it. This is what I want. But they still want her to do some of the old things. And so there's this dual reality happening for her at the same time, as it is for all of us. But the invitation on the table is to look around and see Where is it that I've given agreement to my old stuff, my old identity to persist through my actions, choices, and behaviors? And one of the aha moments that she had recently, somebody had videoed her doing something as part of the volunteer organization. And she knew, because she's got this vision in her mind. This is where I want my career to go. This is what I want to be. This is what I want to do. And in our private conversation, we've been talking about, okay, well, what are those actors who are in that place? What are they doing when they're not on screen? What are they doing when they're not on stage? When you catch them out in the public, how are they dressed? How are they presenting themselves? How are they working? Like, what do you see when you see them and they're not on camera? And so I left her with that question the last time we spoke. And within like 4 days, she was like, within a week, she was like, oh my gosh, somebody took a video of me and it was not the presentation I know I want to be for where I want to go. I have to switch up the way I'm self presenting. I was not in agreement. I was not in alignment with the star that I know that I am. The way I was carrying myself did not reflect the truth of what I know I'm capable of being. And now I recognize what I have to do, Aries action, to step into my new and to make sure other people see me and create that agreement with me that this is who I am in the world. And so that's a small example, but you kind of get the idea that there's a closing out of things we used to be in order to step into a world we want to live in for ourselves. Okay. So again, shout out to you, girlfriend. Congrats. You're really doing it. And I'm so inspired. We've got Jupiter square Pluto in this energy. So this is what's inviting us to get into greater power. Okay. And so this thing here with Jupiter square Pluto, because Pluto deals with power, what we have to be willing to do in order to expand, that's Jupiter, is deal with Pluto's connection to our fears. And at this time, as you're seeing the very thing that you want to move beyond, right? That's in your face, you don't love it. It's sobering to see it. Like she said, when I saw the video, it was sobering. That is not the presentation. You're seeing it, it's sobering. At the same time, there's a recognition, okay, if I really want to do something about this, here are some things that are uncomfortable for me. And I love my friend too, because she never uses the word, this is scary. She'll always say, this is uncomfortable for me. She's very meticulous about the way she uses language to describe certain things because she doesn't want to create things to be bigger than what they are. So you may find that there are some things that are uncomfortable for you as you move into this moment in time to release, because there are certain things that we're always comfortable, right? You know, your way of being with your mom or your way of being with your house and your home. If you want to have a spouse or a partner, but in your home, there's just like no space, it's just cluttered to the high heavens. The comfort of all of the stuff being around you has to get confronted. You're going to have to release stuff if you want to have, you know, a partner that lives in your home with you. And so there's this recognition like, wow, that's parting ways with certain things that I didn't know I'd have to do that. But right now, we're all seeing the cost of what it is it's going to take to become who it is we know we're capable of being, to really own our new, to really live in that from our life force. And so Jupiter is wanting to expand things, and together they're a life-changing energy that allow us to own our power. Okay. And Mars is going to join them and really Mars is going to dial this up in the weeks after this. As we close out May, here's our friend Mars. Mars is going to move into perfection as a T-square. Jupiter is going to hit that 0-degree mark of Taurus. Pluto's already at the 0-degree mark of Aquarius. Mars is going to hit the 0-degree mark of Leo, and we'll get a T-square. When that T-square hits, there's going to be only one option for us. And I always talk about this when there are T-squares in the astrology, we have to occupy the sign that is unoccupied by a planetary body in order to bring forth the energy of balance. And the sign that will be unoccupied is the sign directly opposite Taurus, and this will be in 2 weeks' time. That'll be Scorpio down here at the 0-degree mark. We'll have the south node there, but the south node is not a planet. It's an energy, it's a gateway, it's a portal. And so it'll be about releasing between now and the end of May. We're closing out what once was so that we can make space for what is to be. And this Mars right now is having a conversation with Chiron before it moves into perfection with Jupiter and Pluto. It's right now talking to Chiron, and the squaring conversation with Chiron has one to do with confronting where we feel like we're not enough. Chiron in Aries has been stirring the pot around not enoughness for a few years now. And every time we have a planet touch it, we have to go into that story of not enoughness and upgrade it. We have to upgrade it a little bit more every time and see the truth of who we really are, that there's wisdom in being different. There's wisdom in being an outsider. There's wisdom in being uniquely yourself. There's no flaw in being built the way you're built. And so right now, this Mars is having a conversation with Chiron here from the place of emotional truth and reality. And it's asking us to really look, what emotional programs have I been running that are just not working anymore? What can I let go of? Because these things are going to get mirrored back in the experiences that we're all having. It's like, oh yeah, okay, this is not how I want my life to go. I want something else. Okay. So it's an exciting time. There's a little bit of tenderness unfolding now that will move into tension in a couple weeks' time at the new moon in Taurus. And as this tenderness gives way to tension, the invitation is once again, act. It's to move, it's to choose, it's to do something that you've never done so that you can get something you've never had. There is a little bit of discomfort as we're invited into some real honesty about our own intentions. Like, oh, maybe I did intend to kind of keep you here in this place where I wanted you until I figured out what I wanted. Now I'm realizing what I want. It's really not you, and I have to release you. Maybe I really need to deal with how it feels to have acted out of alignment with my own moral code in that. And so sometimes there can be some stuff with Chiron that comes up that's like shame or guilt. And I always think of shame as just recognizing that you're out of alignment with your own moral code. It's not the end of the world, but it's like, oh yeah, okay, that's not who I want to be. And guilt as, the recognition that, you've acted out of alignment with your own value system. So where you're getting revelation about that, honor that truth and begin to make the necessary changes to foster something new. Okay. Let's see. And so while some of this is certainly in the outer world, there's nothing happening in our outer world that isn't already a function of what's going on in our inner world. And so many of you aren't necessarily maybe seeing outer world change just yet, or maybe you are. If you are, definitely put it in the comments. Definitely subscribe and like the video if you're resonating with this. That would be very helpful. But others of you may not really be seeing that just yet. What you may be getting is something a little bit more like the end of one emotional state and the shift to another, specifically around your values and what you see as valuable for you in the world. Because the Scorpio and Taurus specifically deal with the world of values. They're the axis of value in astrology. Okay. And so For example, you may have never valued the idea of being a parent or wanting kids. And now it's like overnight almost, you're really clear, oh, I do want to be a mom. Okay, I definitely want to do that. I want to have a family. Others of you may have be recognizing, I always thought I wanted to work in the family business. This family business has been my life. And now this eclipse is hitting in the last 60 days. And between the energy of the tail end of last year and the beginning of this year, the last 10 months, you're like, I need to do my own thing. I can't work in the family business. There's just no way I could do it. I have to do my own thing. And still, for others of you, you may have the kind of thing where it's like, I always thought I wanted to be single. Like I was committed to the monastic life or the bachelorette life. This is who I always wanted to be. And now I am definitely wanting partnership and intimacy. It is non-negotiable that I figure out a way to create that. Now, notice that each example that I provided has something to do with moon related stuff and Taurus related stuff, because Taurus deals with desire. And the moon here, since we're dealing with a lunar eclipse, is what's highlighted. And so, issues that are moon related include mothering and mothers, family, emotional connections, and emotional needs. The moon deals with each of these things. So you may find shifting in each of these arenas. The moon also is reflective of the light of the sun. So there may be some things around identity that are getting mirrored back to you that you're recognizing, yeah, I have spent too much time identifying as this. That's too small a box, too small a label. It's too not true at this point. I'm not a victim and I've spent too much time identifying with that. This is a moment in time where you'll go, okay, I'm just done. I'm done telling that story and move into something new. And so, even though I'm talking about it and I'm saying there are endings, you can hear in the examples that I've provided, all of these endings are really upgrades. None of them are bad. Oh, that's going to be a good title for this video. Let's write that down. Okay, very good. And so this is giving us the opportunity to really move into a next chapter with our heads held high, because we are releasing that which we've dragged behind us, which is now dead and gone. Now, because Venus is in square with Neptune, here's our friend Venus, here's our friend Neptune. I told you Neptune really deals with mirrors in some ways. And we also have Mercury in retrograde, which is giving us a chance to really review stuff. Venus is in Mercury's sign, which is Gemini. What we have going on here, Gemini and Mercury really kind of highlight in this, because Mercury is retrograde, where we've been double-minded about stuff, where we have been double desired, where we have been double invested, right? And many times, because Venus is sitting here in Gemini, and Gemini is the sign that deals with siblings, cousins, and neighbors, and specifically soul family, not general friends, but like specifically the people that it's like, yeah, I incarnated with this person and we're kind of stuck and attached together for life. And this is just how it is. Like this person's not here for a season. This person is here for the lifetime. Those kind of people. During this period of time, you may get some revelation that part of why the changes that need to get made are uncomfortable to see at this moment in time is because that you're double invested, you're double desired, because you have agreements to be part of a particular group of people, and those people may not be evolving at the rate at which you're moving. And so where you recognize that, and this again, this goes back to what I talked about at the beginning of the video, that during this Taurus Scorpio eclipse season, you're going to find yourself in camps where it's like you're in the light or you're in the dark, but you cannot occupy both simultaneously. And where people in the soul group are just still needing more time to deal with shadow, to deal with darkness in your life and your desires that you've put out there, that you began to move on. Your things are in a place of truly being coming to you now. They're starting to unfold for you now. You're starting to see the possibility now. Some of what you're up against is the mirror of the agreements that you've made to be part of this group. The agreement you have to be the ugly duckling of the bunch, to be the goofy friend, but now you want to start a business. You've got maybe agreement in the group, to be the one who's there for everyone, who picks up the pieces. But now, like you've got a health issue that's demanding 100% of your attention, and you're cutting those agreements so that you can give yourself the attention you need, right? There's some of what's happening is a mirroring of where I desire to be a part of this group. It's Venus and Gemini, and simultaneously agreements that I have to maintain being a part of the group are getting in the way of having exactly what I want. And I have to shift those agreements. I have to shift my consciousness. I have to shift my communication. And that's this Mercury in Venus's sign, retrograde, and this Venus in Mercury's sign, direct. This is what we call in astrology. Gosh, my brain is now farting on it. I've got all this language, but not this one particular thing. I think it's called, I'll remember it before the end of the video and I'll shout it out like it's this. But when each planet is in the opposite planet sign, they provide a very particular conversation that endows them each with a bit of their own energy, a bit of their own power, and a lot of each other's clarity and ability. And so this Mercury is giving Venus vibes in Taurus. It's clarity about what we desire. And this Venus is giving Mercury vibes in Gemini. And it's drawing toward people. Again, that Gemini is communication, it's mindset, and soul family, drawing towards people that are actually going to help us get where we want to go. Okay. And so that recognition is definitely here where it's like, yeah, I don't want to ditch people, but I've definitely outgrown the need to walk in certain proximity with people. Like I don't need to be as close because the way you look at me holds me in the place that I have outgrown. And you only know how to interact with me in that place. And so until I've solidified my new, and in some cases, for some of you, you may need to step away from some of the people that have had you in a particular place, not because they want to hold you down or hold you back, but just because that's how they've known you and that's who you used to be. Now, as you're stepping into something new, you may need to step into a bit of a cocoon so that you can close out certain things within yourself and come back new to those conversations and those dynamics. Okay. They can see you in a new way because you see you in a new way. And so some of that is going on here as well. Okay. All right. Very exciting stuff. Happy I got to explain it to you. Definitely join me on Saturday because we're going to talk about how to carry this manifestation energy into the remainder of the year. Because even though we always have we're in a period of hyper manifestation that's coming to completion now. We live on the planet that deals with manifestation. That's Earth. That's what Earth represents. And we are creator beings incarnate. So your capacity to create is always with you. We're just going to talk about how to do that personally on Saturday. Let's go ahead and look at the new moon in Taurus together and have a conversation about what this new moon in Taurus is going to represent, what it's going to mean, and what it's going to bring to the table for all of us. Okay. Let's do that now. And if you haven't hit that like button, definitely do so and subscribe if you are new. All right, let me share that chart, the new moon in Taurus chart. Okay, you should be seeing new moon in Taurus. This is my first look at this lunation. Oh, we moved from 10 fixed planets to 11. How thrilling. Okay. Love it. You know, my coach, so I mentioned to you guys that I'm coaching with a woman. Her name is Romania. She's over on a channel called Yielded Vessel Talk. You can find her, and she's excellent at what she does. Um, but the word that she has been getting spiritually for this season has been solidification. And that's precisely what fixed energies do is they solidify. They codify, they ground, they make real, and then they sustain a frequency once it's been initiated in cardinal signs. And so we had a lot of cardinal energy through the first several months of the year. Now we're moving from planting to fertilizing. We're moving from idea to creation in a real way. And so we've got all this energy here in Taurus. Remember, we had massive energy just like this about a month and a half ago in Aries. Now Taurus is getting it. Now Taurus is seeing it. Jupiter has joined the party. There's an interesting thing opening up here with Jupiter and the North Node. Mercury will finally be direct, but still in shadow. So we'll still be working out some of the themes that have come up during the retrograde period. We'll have Vesta and Uranus here in conversation, talking to us about what we're committed to and changing our commitments. And then we have the new moon in Taurus here. Wow, lots of Taurian energy. So Taurus deals with fertility. Taurus deals with abundance and prosperity. It deals with the energy of perpetual spring and lightness and renewal. It deals with the energy of nourishment and beauty. And it's a divine feminine energy in the way that it really deals with kind of that all woman in one. It's like the triple goddess kind of energy, maiden, mother, crone kind of energy, and the ways in which it's all the things feminine and beautiful all at the same time. Okay. So here we have this lovely Taurus new moon here. It's like, I mean, geez, Taurus, can any of the other signs get a chance? Come on, you need to have all the planets. So I like to see this. What stands out to me about this is the way that this particular new moon speaks in harmony to Pluto. Once again, Pluto is a primary feature for what's going on. And once again, Saturn is another primary feature for what we have unfolding. Pluto again deals with power, it deals with alchemical change. Pluto is on the rebirthing side of its three-part cycle: death, afterlife, and rebirth. It has rebirthed itself through the sign of Aquarius, the sign of the people at this time. Saturn here deals with integrity and structures and boundaries. And so as we hit this new moon in Taurus, we're going to go through that closing out and that recognition of what needs to end with the solar eclipse, or sorry, lunar eclipse, full moon in Scorpio. That'll be a period of time that's happening concurrently alongside of the new. Many of you have felt this closing out energy up until now. And now what we have going on is this rebirth. It's this beautiful energy of growth and this beautiful energy of like the seeds that we planted are going to start to germinate. They're going to start to take root. Some of you are going to see shoots at this time. Some of you won't see anything because it'll be a time of the roots. And you just got to keep watering, keep nurturing, keep nourishing what you've planted behaviorally. Taurus, in many ways, deals with some patterns. It deals with repetition as well. It deals with continuing on, all the fixed signs do, continuing on the way you started. And so hopefully you've been able to harness this manifestation season energy to get very clear. This is what I want, and this is what I'm going to do to get it, and this is what I'm going to release to get it. Okay. So I like to see this. I love this kind of fertile Taurus energy. It really speaks to me about desire coming into fruition, especially with Jupiter joining the party. Jupiter expands whatever Jupiter touches. And so Jupiter expanding through Taurus for an extended season is going to allow us all to have an expansion in all things that Taurus represents, but most basically, desire. An expansion of the things that we desire, expansion of the things we're attracted to, expansion of the things that we want. So, super thrilling. I like this. I like where this goes. Like where this goes a lot. Choice is still a really big theme here as Pluto is squaring the nodal axis and will continue to be throughout the summer. We're going to continue to have a lot of conversations about what are you choosing, because we're all at a second chance moment in our lives with Pluto squaring the nodal axis at the moment. And the second chance moment is just, are you really willing to confront the things that scare you to have the things that matter to you? That's the question on the table before all of us. Okay, my beautiful peoples, I will see you live on Saturday, and very excited to be able to do this with you, to share how you can make manifestation happen in any season according to your personal blueprint for it. If you want to get early access to the private workshop, then definitely get on my private list. The link to do that is below this video in the description box. It says get on my private list. You can sign up, and I announced the private workshop this Thursday to my private list. Okay, guys, take great care, and bye for now.